Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 6 Part 42 based on novel. So let's start. The thick black fog emerged in the sky in an extremely strange manner. It spread apart and practically covered the entire place, an extremely shocking sight. The top of the mountain had become a little chaotic because of this scene, while alarmed and uncertain eyes continued to scan the sky. Lin Dong's brows were tightly knitted together as he watched the black fog that had spread across the sky. He could sense some extremely terrifying energy ripple from within the black cloud. His eyes gently flashed for a moment, before he swiftly rushed out from his battle stage and landed on the mountaintop below. When Lin Dong had landed on the mountaintop, Little Martin, Little Flame, Suru, and the rest also hurried over immediately. Even Liu Bai's group also quickly followed. Their faces were a little anxious. Clearly, they were shaken by this strange scene. Looks like those fellows have made a move. What should we do? Little Martin stared at the sky and softly inquired. Lin Dong nodded, musing for a while before he replied, "We will hold back first. We are currently unable to intervene in a battle of this level. There are still experts from the super sects present in the sky. Moreover, this realm is a territory shared by these super sects of the Eastern Xian region. It will not be easy to snatch this place away. If the disturbance is too great, it will definitely alarm the super sects in the Eastern Xian region. At that time, regardless of what the background these fellows have, it will likely be extremely difficult for them to mess around in the Eastern Xian region. Is Brother Lin Dong acquainted with these people?" Liu Bai and the others felt their hearts tremble upon hearing this. Clearly, they did not expect that there would actually be someone who wanted to snatch this ancient battlefield from the mouth of the super sects. "Yes, I once bumped into them unintentionally, was chased by them, and even exchanged blows with them a couple of times," Lin Dong nodded slightly. He clearly did not intend to hide anything at this moment. After all, the event had already happened. These words of Lin Dong might appear casual, but they caused Liu Bai's and Yang Sen's expression to change a little. From the way these people dared to provoke the super sects of the Eastern Xian region, one could tell that they definitely did not have ordinary backgrounds. Yet, Lin Dong was actually able to exchange blows with these people and live till now. His capability was not just a little shocking. Bang bang. The black cloud frantically spread out in the sky. A moment later, the sky-encompassing black cloud cracked open, as black light descended and over a dozen figures completely wrapped in black light slowly took shape in the sky. With the appearance of these figures, the yuan power of the land started to boil. An indescribable and terrifying ripple spread out from their bodies. The powerful pressure directly caused everyone on the mountaintop to feel as though they could not move. Such frightening strength! When everyone on the mountaintop felt this pressure, shocked expressions instantly surged up their faces. Just the yuan power pressure alone was already able to pressure them to such an extent. Just where did these monsters appear from? Humph! In the sky, the 8 super sect experts wore cold and stern expressions. A cold snort was emitted while a similarly incomparably majestic yuan power ripple erupted and spread outwards, blocking the yuan power pressure from the other party. "I was wondering who it was. Turns out that it's you people from the Western Xian region. You fellows are really quite bold. Not only have you snuck into our Eastern Xian region, but you actually dare to make a move." Liu Tong stared at the black light human figures and laughed coldly. Evidently, he recognized them. "Ha ha, it is actually Deacon Liu Tong from Yuan Gate." The leader of the black light human figures laughed loudly. The black light above his head scattered, revealing a smiling middle-aged face. "Zhenzhong." Liu Tong frowned upon seeing this person, before he spoke again in an indifferent manner. "Just what do you intend to do by interrupting my Eastern Xian region's 100 Empire War?" "Nothing much. Our Western Xian region is also quite interested in this ancient battlefield. You have occupied it for so many years, so now it should be our Western Xian region's turn," the middle-aged man known as Zhenzhong smiled. His voice was just like thunder that rolled and reverberated in the sky, as if it possessed a strange strength that could shake one's heart. "As expected, you've not given up. This realm has already been placed in our Eastern Xian region. With just a few of you, you actually dare to try to snatch it away. Dream on. As long as I transmit this information, all of you can forget about escaping alive. Liu Tong coldly said. Since we have already acted, we will have naturally considered this point. Do you really believe that you can transmit information out of this space now? A strange smile surfaced on Zhenzhong's face as he spoke. Liu Tong's eyes immediately became chilly upon hearing this. He flicked his finger and a golden light appeared at his fingertip, before attempting to flee into the void. Yuan spirit transmission her. Zhenzhong laughed strangely upon seeing this. He crossed his arms over his chest and did not show any intention of blocking it. The golden light rushed out from Liu Tong's hand. However, before it could enter the void, a large circular black seal suddenly appeared within the void. Black light flickered as the golden light was catapulted back. Liu Tong and the other experts from the super sects immediately had a change in expression upon seeing this scene. The expert from the Great Desolate Palace immediately threw a fist forward. A terrifying power gathered under his fist, blasting the space until it became distorted. However, numerous black lines once again appeared in a strange manner when the space was distorted. It adhered onto the empty space like a spider web and easily blocked the punch. Ha ha, in order to take this ancient battlefield away this time, we have even brought that heaven-sealing array along with us. Relax, the disturbance in this place will definitely not be detected by your respective sects. Moreover, those old monsters from the Eastern Xian region will naturally be delayed by my Western Xian region, Zhenzhong beamed and said. Heaven's sealing array. Liu Tong and the old man from the Dao sect were startled when they heard this. Clearly, they were shaken by this name. To think that you have actually brought out even this pure Yuan treasure. Your Western Xian region has really invested heavily this time. The Dao sect old man frowned and commented. There's no choice. This ancient battlefield is a good place. There are countless number of inheritances within it. Asking us to give it up will not be so easy. Zhenzhong laughed. As long as we establish an array within this space, the elites from our Western Xian region will be able to directly send this realm to our Western Xian region. These people here are likely the geniuses that your super sects have selected after much difficulty, right? Ha ha, it's just as well. We'll bring all of them back as well. If they are willing to join us, they will be able to enjoy some rather good treatment. Of course, those who disobey will be relegated to be slaves. The words that Zhenzhong spoke as he smilingly glanced at the crowd on the mountaintop, caused their expressions to change drastically. To think that they are actually from the Western Xian region, Liu Bai's expression was dark and gloomy as he spoke through gritted teeth. Their empires were all located in the Eastern Xian region. If they were to be captured and sent to the Western region, they would lose all their pride. The faces of the geniuses from the various empires around Liu Bai were extremely ugly, and there was even some panic in their eyes. They were clearly aware of just how miserable their plight would be if they were to be brought to the Western Xian region. They would be no different from slaves. In the sky, the old man from the Dao sect frowned slightly. However, his face did not lose its color. After looking at Zhenzhong and the rest, he lowered his eyelids and said, "You have indeed prepared quite well. However, are you so confident of establishing an array right under our eyes? The 8 of us should not be people that can be so easily overlooked, no." Although these people from the Western Xian region appeared menacing, it was evident that the practitioners here had not reached an unstoppable level. It was likely that the other side did not dare to sneak in so many experts. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to do things this stealthily. Ha ha, who dares to slight the man Wu Dao from Dao sect? Zhenzhong heartily laughed. His eyes paused on the old man from the Dao sect. There was fear deep within his eyes. This expression was something he never had even when facing Liu Tong of the Yuan Gate. From the looks of it, Zhenzhong truly did not dare to underestimate this old man from the Dao sect. It is indeed extremely troublesome to fight with you all. Therefore, we do not plan on doing so. All we need to do is temporarily trap you. Zhenzhong waved his hand. The smile on his exceptionally sinister face was just like that of a black-faced fox, one that anyone would be irritated at. Trapping us? I'm afraid that you people do not possess that ability. Liu Tong sneered. I'm afraid that you will be wrong if you believe that. A strange expression was revealed on Zhen Zhong's face. He suddenly waved his hand before forming a series of seals at lightning speed. Heaven's Sealing Array, Spatial Seal. When Zhen Zhong cried out in a low voice, the dozen experts from the Western Xian region also laughed in a strange manner while similarly changing their hand seals. Boom! Everyone's hand seals changed. The sky immediately started to shake as the void split open. Numerous strange black lights rushed out and transformed into an enormous ancient seal. The seal spread out like a prison, instantly sealing the Dao sect old man and the other 7 within it. Thump thump thump. Numerous shocking ripples erupted the instant the seal was formed. A terrifying attack ruthlessly poured down onto the ancient seal, shaking it till it trembled. Humph, although I am unable to kill you, trapping you with the help of the Heaven Sealing Array is no trouble at all. Zhen Zhong sneered. Soon after, he waved his hand, activate the array and strengthen the seal. Yes, sir. The dozen experts from the Western Xian region immediately responded upon hearing the order. Immediately, they used all their might to power the array, firmly trapping the Dao sect old man and the others. Cao Yu, Chang Wei, deploy the formation. We need to trap these fellows and we cannot be distracted for the time being. The matter of the formation will be handed over to your group. Zhen Zhong suddenly raised his head and cried coldly at the black cloud. Kill anyone who dares to stop you. Zhen Zhong's sinister gaze turned towards Lin Dong and the rest on the mountaintop when he uttered these words. Understood. A response was emitted from the black cloud. A shocking yuan power fluctuation accompanied dozens of figures as they swiftly flew out from the black cloud. Lin Dong gazed at the dozen shockingly powerful figures. His eyes focused on a familiar figure in front. It was the Death Spirit General whom they had exchanged blows with not long ago. At this moment, all the competitors on the mountaintop had extremely grim expressions. This situation was truly not encouraging at all. Dozens of figures rushed out from the black cloud in the sky, before slowly coming to a halt some distance away from the 100 Empire mountaintop. Their eyes contained a playful glint as they stared at the crowd atop the mountain. There doesn't seem to be anything special about these geniuses from the Eastern Xian region. A somewhat feminine-looking young man at the front smilingly gazed at the mountaintop before curling his mouth and remarking. Ha ha, once we have moved this realm to the Western Xian region, all of these so-called geniuses will likely end up as prisoners. Behind the feminine-looking young man, another man laughed heartily. Ha ha. A wave of laughter immediately erupted in the sky when the others heard this. It was as though they were completely looking down on these so-called geniuses. Fury surfaced in the eyes of everyone on the mountain top when they heard their mocking laughter. All of those present were prideful individuals. Hence, how could they endure being mocked so openly? Although they were raging in their hearts, none of them dared to speak up impulsively at this moment. The current situation was such that even those experts from the super sects were trapped. Could it be that they were the ones who had to act in this situation? Some turned to each other, before their gazes immediately turned away. Most of their gazes were thrown towards Qin Tian, who was at the center. At the end of the day, Jianyuan Empire was the strongest empire within the Eastern Xian region. Moreover, they had the backing of the Yuan Gate. At this time, it seemed only natural that everyone placed their hopes on him. As the focal point of so many gazes, a very tiny smile formed at the corners of Qin Tian's mouth, while his spine unknowingly straightened. He glanced at Lin Dong's direction from the corner of his eyes. It appeared as though he was very pleased to be the center of attention. Qin Tian's action might be extremely minute, but it did not escape Lin Dong's eyes, to which he could not resist but smile a little. This fellow was actually able to think about such nonsense at this time. The people before them were no ordinary foes. Everyone, it is not wise to act so arrogantly in our Eastern Xian region, no. Under the gazes of the crowd, the now straight-backed Qin Tian looked towards the dozen powerful figures in the sky and spoke with a mighty voice. Who do you think you are? The feminine-looking man stared at Qin Tian with a half-smile and replied in an indifferent manner. I am Qin Tian from the Jianyuan Empire, a disciple of the Yuan Gate. Qin Qian's eyes were furious as he coldly said, "Qin Qian? I have never heard of such a person amongst the younger generation of the Yuan Gate." The feminine man ridiculed. "Ha ha, big brother Chang Wei, this fellow has clearly yet to enter the Yuan Gate. How could you possibly have heard of him?" A loud laughter sounded out behind the feminine man. "So he is merely a phony show-off." The feminine man known as Chang Wei softly chuckled, completely ignoring the now green-faced Qin Qian. "All right, Chang Wei, there is no need for any more unnecessary words." A man in dark red robes right at very front finally waved his hand, silencing the mocking laughter behind him. "Yes, big brother Cao." This man clearly possessed a rather high position. Hence, even Chang Wei smiled and nodded after the former spoke, ceasing his mockery. The man in dark red robes slowly lowered his head after putting a stop to the group's mockery. His eyes were cold and indifferent as he looked towards the crowd. A faintly discernible and strong Yuan power vaguely spreading from his body, causing everyone's heart to suddenly tighten. This ripple was even a little stronger than Qin Qian's. "Who is Lin Dong?" The dark red-robed man's eyes swept over the crowd. His eyes merely paused on Qin Qian for a moment before demanding in a faint voice. Everyone was startled when they heard these words. Immediately, their eyes shifted towards a tall and thin figure to the back. Clearly, they did not expect his name to be called. Lin Dong also frowned slightly at this moment. He stared at the man and spoke in a calm tone, "Yes. You should remember him." The man in dark red robes waved his hand. After which, a person from behind him stepped forward. He venomously stared at Lin Dong. From the looks of it, it was the Death Spirit General who had fled after being seriously injured by Lin Dong. Lin Dong, do you still remember the words I said back then? I said that you will regret it." The Death Spirit General stared at Lin Dong and laughed in a malicious manner. Alive as expected, what an unpleasant fellow, Lin Dong glanced at the Death Spirit General and indifferently smiled. "Keep acting tough. Once this realm is transferred to the Western Xian region, I will let you experience a fate worse than death." The Death Spirit General wore a ferocious expression as he retorted. "Why? Lin Dong, do you know them?" Qin Qian suddenly opened his mouth and spoke when he saw this scene. Clearly, he did not wish for the limelight to be snatched away by Lin Dong. "I have met these people some time ago and exchanged blows with them," Lin Dong casually replied. "You are aware that they are after this realm? Why didn't you report this sooner?" Qin Qian frowned, a slightly interrogative tone in his voice. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed slightly upon hearing this, feeling a little wronged. However, his tone did not fluctuate much when he replied, "If you randomly met someone on the way who tells you that they intend to snatch this realm from the hands of the Eastern Xian region's super sects, would you believe him?" Qin Qian was stunned. He had been rendered completely speechless. "Qin Qian, now is not the time to talk about this. We must stop them from establishing the formation. Otherwise, once they transfer this realm to the Western Xian region, we will end up deep within the wolf's lair," Lan Ying suddenly said from the side. Qin Qian turned his head after hearing Lan Ying's words, looking towards the man in dark red robes as he said, "There is no need to be overly worried. After all, there are quite a number of us. Their seal is unable to trap Sir Liu Tong and the rest for long. Leave this person to me." Qin Qian stepped forward while he uttered these words. Immediately, a powerful Yuan power ripple swept outwards. That degree of strength caused the expressions of quite a number of people to change. 6 Yuan Nirvana stage. He is indeed worthy of being someone from the Qian Yuan Empire, to think that he has actually broken through to the 6 Yuan Nirvana stage. Shocked expressions were revealed in the eyes of the many experts from the various empires on the mountaintop upon witnessing this scene, while also causing them to rejoice a little. Right now, the stronger Qin Qian was, the more reassured they felt. As expected, 6 Yuan Nirvana stage, Lin Dong's eyebrows raised a little. This Qin Qian did indeed possess some actual ability. 6 Yuan Nirvana stage. If nothing went wrong, the 100 Empire War Champion title would likely fall into his hands. However, Lin Dong was naturally happy to have Qin Tian fight on their behalf at such a time. He immediately withdrew and stood beside little Martin. This fellow is no match for that person. Moreover, he would likely lose rather miserably, little Martin lazily said. Oh. Lin Dong was startled. He took a second look at the dark red-robed man in the sky. This person did indeed seem to be a little stronger than Qin Tian. However, a miserable defeat would be unlikely, right? Little Martin's face had a playful smile hanging on it. Without explaining, he folded his arms across his chest as he observed the battleground. 6 Yuan Nirvana stage is quite decent. The dark red-robed man in the sky was also a little surprised as he stared at Qin Tian. Soon after, he shook his head slightly and softly said, "There are indeed quite a number of you, but all of you are merely weaklings. Although those on our side are not the strongest due to the limitations of our scheme, it is more than enough to deal with all of you. Set up the formation." Without any more unnecessary words, he waved his hand and spoke in a faint voice. "Understood." The dozen figures behind him immediately cried out in unison upon hearing his voice. They swung their hands as clusters of black light balls appeared. Soon after, numerous black light lines suddenly rushed out. These light lines directly penetrated through the emptiness, as if they penetrated through this space. Qin Tian, stop them. Whoever destroys the formation will be the champion of this 100-empire war. Liu Tong's furious roar was suddenly heard from the prison formed by the Black Seal when those black light lines penetrated through space. "Humph, I'm afraid that you have found the wrong opponent if you wish to behave so atrociously in our eastern Xian region." Qin Tian's eyes also became cold upon hearing Liu Tong's cry. Majestic Yuan power swept out, directly transforming into a light figure that rushed towards the dark red-robed man at lightning speed. Attack! Behind Qin Tian, the experts who had stepped into the Nirvana Golden ranking also revealed stern expression as they closely followed. Things that do not know your limits. The dark red-robed man watched Qin Tian rush over with indifferent eyes. He slowly extended his hand and clenched it gently. Bang! After the hand fell, the space in front of him suddenly became distorted. An unusual black light directly shot out from the empty space, smashing into Qin Tian at lightning speed. Ugh! The black light struck Qin Tian as golden light wildly flickered on his body. The next instant, the golden light dimmed as a mouthful of fresh blood was spat out and his body flew backwards in a miserable manner. Finally, he landed violently onto the ground. The Nirvana Golden ranking experts who were just about to charge forward were halted almost instantly. Every single one of them had shocked expressions on their faces. Clearly, they did not expect that even Qin Tian, who had stepped into the 6 Yuan Nirvana stage, would be defeated in a single move. Lin Dong's eyes slowly became grave at this moment. This fellow was really powerful. The dark red-robed man looked down upon everyone from the sky. His tone was indifferent, while ridiculing expression flashed across his mouth. "Do you still wish to fight?" The man stood arrogantly in the sky with one hand behind his back while he looked down upon everyone on the mountaintop. On his face hung a smile that seemed to be a smile yet was not. The entire mountaintop was rather quiet. Everyone's expressions were quite grim. Some tightly clenched their fist, wanting to cry out furiously. However, a basin of cold water seemed to have been poured on their heads when they saw the sorry state of Qin Tian as he lay on the ground. Even Qin Tian, who had stepped into the 6 Yuan Nirvana stage, had been so miserably defeated. It would likely be completely pointless even if they stepped forward. Lan Ying and the other Nirvana Golden ranking experts wore gloomy and fluctuating expressions. They had clearly been shaken by that man's previous attack. How is he this powerful? Lin Dong could not help but frown while he stared at this scene before softly asking. "It is because of that heaven-sealing array, dot." Little Martin replied faintly. "It should be a Pu Yuan treasure and this person can clearly utilize some of the array's power. Although this tiny bit of power is practically a fraction of the array's power, it is not surprising for him to defeat Qin Tian in a single strike if we factor in his actual strength. Pu Yuan treasure." Lin Dong's eyebrows slightly knitted together. A treasure that is even stronger than a heavenly soul treasure. That kind of thing is quite rare even within the super sects, little Martin explained. A pure Yuan treasure is extremely powerful. Moreover, the strength that it possessed far exceeds your imagination. This heavenly sealing array should be a type of high-grade pure Yuan array. Otherwise, it would be unable to lock this entire space. Powerful. Lin Dong quietly clicked his tongue. Using one treasure to seal an entire space. Just what kind of ability was that? Compared with the so-called pure Yuan treasure, the black dragon sky-roaring seal in his hand really felt a little weak and insignificant. In that case, is the mysterious stone talisman also considered a pure Yuan treasure? Lin Dong mused for a moment before he suddenly asked curiously. TCH, this thing is something that I am unable to fully grasp even after so many years. How could a pure Yuan treasure compared with its level of secrecy? Little Martin curled his mouth and appeared to feel quite disdained. So even you did not completely figure out the properties of the mysterious stone talisman? Lin Dong rolled his eyes at Little Martin and said. Little Martin was immediately stunned upon hearing this. It seemed that his pride took a hit. He wanted to refute it but discovered that he seemed to be really uncertain about just what use this mysterious stone talisman did. Hence, he could only rub his nose bitterly. This situation does not appear to be too good. Little Martin changed the topic as he looked at the sky and said. Lin Dong sighed softly and nodded. Clearly, he did not expect that this 100 Empire War would actually end up turning into this state. His father, grandfather, and the others were awaiting for him to deliver the good news back. If they end up hearing that he was being captured by the Western Xian region, it was likely that they would not be able to take it. Let's observe the situation. That man called Cao Yu in the sky looked at this silence on the mountaintop and smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, the black light balls in the hands of the many figures behind him emitted even more rays of light. These light rays penetrated through the space and vaguely appeared to have formed an enormous black light formation in the sky above. We cannot allow them to complete the formation. Watching the formation that was gradually being formed in the sky, Lan Ying, Qing Feng, and the others also had increasingly ugly faces. They were aware that once the formation was completed, this realm would be transferred to the Western Xian region. Their situation would really become extremely miserable then. After all, the relationship between the Western Xian region and the Eastern Xian region was quite hostile. Let's fight. I do not wish to head to that terrible Western Xian region. A man with a black heavy sword on his back spoke with a gloomy expression. He was someone from the Sword Empire and possessed quite a great strength. With the strength of Cao Yu, who can fight with him? Lan Ying clenched her hand tightly. If they failed to stop Cao Yu, it was likely that they would be unable to stop the other party from establishing the formation. However, even if the experts from the Nirvana Golden ranking swarmed towards Cao Yu, it was likely that the rest would have difficulty interrupting the other party. The genius experts from the other 10 super empires had sunken expressions upon hearing Lan Ying's words. Even Qin Qian, who had stepped into the 6 Yuan Nirvana stage, was defeated by Qin Qian with one strike. Who amongst them dared to fight with this Cao Ying in a one-on-one battle? I will do it. The rest of you should lead the others and disrupt the formation. The man carrying a heavy sword clenched his teeth violently and stepped out. He beckoned with his hand and the heavy sword on his back flew out immediately. A sharp sword glow erupted. Chen Nan, you. Lan Ying and the others were startled upon seeing this scene. Before their words sounded, however, that man had already rushed out explosively. The sword and his body became one as they transformed into a bright glow that tore through the distant sky and pierced towards Cao Yu in a lightning-like manner. Stubborn fool. Cao Yu's expression was indifferent as he watched the figure that had rushed over after transforming into a sharp sword. A cold snort sounded and a large hand was immediately extended. Bang! After his hand was extended, the space in front had once again erupted into a monstrous black light. Immediately, it transformed into a black light large hand that violently slammed onto the sword glow. Bang! The sharp sword glow basically collapsed almost instantly under that black light large hand. That figure within it also spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and shot backwards miserably. This expert from the Sword Empire had clearly been defeated by this Cao Yu with just one strike. Chen Nan. Lan Ying and the others hurriedly rushed to Chen Nan's side. He looked at that miserable manner of the latter and a fury surged within his eyes. He was clearly extremely agitated. Cough, this fellow is really strong. Chen Nan spat out a mouthful of fresh blood as he spoke with an unwilling hoarse voice. Damn it, we'll all fight? An expert cried out furiously. Everyone around had faces that were filled with fury. They were unable to swallow the anger of having been stepped on the head by these fellows from the Western Xian region. Compared to being captured to the Western Xian region, we might as well fight to the death with them here. Another expert also clenched his teeth and said, That's right, we'll battle it out with them. Lan Ying also bit her red lips with the back of her teeth when she heard the various furious cries that sounded from all around. Her pretty face became slightly icy cold as he stood up. Qing Feng, Ma Lin, Mu Se, will attack together and hold back Cao Yu. The others should all attack and destroy the formation. Understood. That Nirvana Golden ranking expert beside Lan Ying, whose name was called, also nodded heavily. Killing intent surged within his eyes. Gi? Lan Ying also did things in a decisive fashion. Moreover, she was aware that they could not afford to delay any longer. Immediately, her body moved and she rushed out. However, a hand was suddenly extended from behind her just as she was about to step forward. After which, it was pressed onto her soft shoulder. All of you are no match for him. Don't go. Lan Ling turned her head and looked at Lin Dong with a helpless face. The back of her teeth bit her red lips and she coldly laughed. I thought you will continue to hide behind me. From the looks of this, she was clearly brooding over the fact that Lin Dong only chose to step up at this moment. I am not a heavyweight character unlike you Super Empire members. Why are you placing so much hope on me? Lin Dong smiled faintly but was unconcerned. He merely raised his head and stared at Cao Yu. After a short silence, he sighed, forget it. Leave him to me. You? Cao Ying and the others were startled upon hearing this. Although their hearts were gripped when watching Lin Dong and Lin Langtian exchange blows, Cao Yu was someone who could even defeat Qin Tian with just one strike. Why? You don't allow me to hide for a little. Are you also not allowing me to fight now that I want to? Lin Dong stared intently at Lan Ying and involuntarily spoke in a helpless manner. Lan Ying's pretty face immediately became red upon hearing this. She lost the sharp wit that she had from before. Instead, she spoke hesitantly, that fellow is very strong. There's no choice. I, too, do not wish to head to that whatever Western Xian region. He shrugged his shoulders in a somewhat free and easy manner and laughed. Moreover, regardless of how strong he is, we must at least give it a try, right? Lin Dong ceased saying anything upon saying these words. He slowly stepped forward. However, he did not even take 2 steps forward when he saw little Martin appearing in front of him in a ghost-like manner. Leave it to me. Little Martin stared at Lin Dong and said. He clearly understood Lin Dong. Although the latter was quite powerful, it would be a little difficult for him to defeat Cao Yu. There is the presence of Yuan Gate here. Those fellows do not appear to be magnanimous. You cannot reveal your identity. Lin Dong shook his head slightly and used a soft voice that only little Martin could hear. You are no match for him. Little Martin frowned and replied. A strange smile surfaced on Lin Dong's face when he heard this. He gently patted little Martin's shoulder and softly said, that may not be certain. Don't you want to know why I have been suppressing my mental power? Next, I will show you why. Little Martin's eyes slowly narrowed as Lin Dong rushed by him. Could this fellow really do it? On the mountaintop, numerous gazes were focused on the young man who was slowly stepping forward. Their gazes contained a rather peculiar expression. Lin Dong had already proven his extraordinary strength time and time again in the earlier battles. Although he only appeared to be at the 4 Yuan Nirvana stage on the surface, everyone clearly understood that his battle capabilities exceeded that level. From the way they saw it, Lin Dong already possessed the qualifications to be compared with Qin Tian. However, in this current situation, even Qin Qian had been utterly defeated. Could Lin Dong really turn the tides? Lin Dong? From the skies above, Cao Yu lowered his head and stared at Lin Dong. The corners of his mouth lifted to form a strange arc as he softly laughed. I have watched your earlier battle. You're not bad, but you are still not my match. I would advise against trying to show off. Lin Dong smiled and replied, who knows unless I give it a try? Don't you agree? I'm afraid that you will not even be able to preserve that pathetic life of yours if you try. Cao Yu laughed. Big brother Cao, why are you wasting your breath on this brat? A mere 4 yuan nirvana stage actually dares to act mighty. Why not leave him to me? The feminine man beside Cao Yu looked at Lin Dong in a strange manner as he released a queer laughter. I will handle it. Cao Yu waved his hand. His eyes paused on Lin Dong as he spoke. This person is not as simple as he appears. Underestimating him would cause you dearly. Oh. The man known as Chang Wei raised his eyebrows. He was clearly unagreeable with these words. Though he was not one of the top practitioners within the younger generation of the Western Xian region, Lin Dong and the others had yet to even enter the super sects, while he on the other hand had already trained in the super sect for 2 years. Pay attention to the others while establishing the formation. Cao Yu faintly commanded before slowly stepping forward. He extended his hand towards Lin Dong, curling it slightly as he laughed. Do it. Allow me to see just how many rounds you can last against me. I will leave the matter of disrupting the formation to you guys. Lin Dong turned around and spoke to Lan Ying and the rest. Be careful. Lan Ying spoke with worry. If Lin Dong was also finished off by Cao Yu, it would be far too great a blow on their morale. Lin Dong smiled a little and nodded. Soon after, he exhaled deeply. A sharp glint gradually surged deep within his eyes. Imitating Cao Yu, he also curled his hand. Go ahead. Allow me to have a taste of just how powerful you experts from the Western Xian region are. Cao Yu was clearly a little irritated by Lin Dong's stance. His eyes immediately narrowed as a cold glint flashed past them. Truly an arrogant fool. Cao Yu inwardly sneered. Without further ado, he extended his hand as his finger pressed onto the empty space. Bang! This seemingly casual action caused the yuan power of the land to boil in an instant. The empty space once again became distorted as a monstrous black light surged out. It directly transformed into a ray of black light that possessed an incomparably sharp aura as it tore through the sky and shot towards Lin Dong in a fashion that could not be dodged. Lan Ying and the others were alarmed when they saw Cao Yu's ferocious attack. From the looks of it, Cao Yu had no intentions of allowing Lin Dong to last for even a single round. An attack at this speed was impossible to dodge. It was just as Lan Ying and the others had expected. Faced with this space-tearing black ray of light, Lin Dong did not plan to dodge at all. Swoosh! The black ray of light that contained a shocking lethal force had arrived in front of Lin Dong in the next moment. The hearts of the Lan Ying group sunk immediately when they saw this scene. Bang! A low and deep sound suddenly echoed out, as Lan Ying and the rest's expressions dimmed. Was it over? Fool who seeks death. Chang Wei and the others involuntarily laughed out loud and spoke in a strange voice upon seeing this scene. He is not dead. Cao Yu's eyebrows slowly knitted together. His soft voice contained a trace of surprise. What? The heartily laughing Chang Wei and gang were immediately stunned when they heard Cao Yu's words, while astonishment covered their faces. They clearly understood just how terrifying that heaven-sealing array was when activated by Cao Yu. How could Lin Dong possibly withstand such power? Cao Yu ignored them. His eyes were tightly fixed onto the spot where the black light was gradually scattering. An exceptionally sturdy figure was faintly visible there. Huh? That's not right. Chang Wei's and Lan Ying's group were stunned when they saw the exceptionally sturdy figure. The black light finally completely dispersed as the strong figure finally appeared in everyone's sights. Its body was bright red. At a glance, it was as though it had been constructed from red copper. That face was also not that of Lin Dong. Instead, an unfamiliar face flickered with a red glow. This is a blood soul puppet. Cao Yu's pupils slightly shrunk as he stared at the bright red body. A faint yet baleful aura spread out from the body. He slowly opened his mouth, surprised that Lin Dong not only possessed a soul puppet, but it was even the strongest blood soul puppet. Most importantly, the level of this blood soul puppet was quite high. It had likely reached the grade 5 level or higher. Cluck! A human figure slowly walked out from behind that sturdy soul puppet. He raised his head and smiled at Cao Yu. "Your eyesight is quite good." This soul puppet was naturally the blood soul puppet in Lin Dong's hands. Ever since he had auctioned for that desolate heavenly cow skeleton in the Wanxiang city, little Martin had used this set of bones to strengthen the blood soul puppet. Combined with Lin Dong's enormous stash of nirvana pills, the current blood soul puppet was many times stronger than before. Based on Lin Dong's guess, the current blood soul puppet should have reached the grade 5 soul puppet level. Its defensive strength had become a little terrifying due to the addition of the desolate heavenly cow to refine it. Cao Yu's ferocious attack was able to seriously injure a 5-yuan nirvana stage expert. However, it merely left a shallow mark on the blood soul puppet's body. Lin Dong. Joy surfaced in Lan Ying and the rest's eyes when they saw that Lin Dong was fine. Clearly, they never imagined that Lin Dong would actually use the soul puppet to block Cao Yu's attack. A strong blood soul puppet. However, I wonder how many of my attacks it can withstand. Cao Yu smiled in an indifferent manner. Won't you know once you try? Lin Dong grinned. Immediately, a sharpness flashed in his eyes. His foot stomped onto the ground as his body rushed out. His hand clenched around the heavenly crocodile bone spear that appeared. With a jerk, the spear transformed into numerous sharp spear glows that filled the sky, enveloping Cao Yu. Some faint green light also quietly flowed while the spear glows gathered. Swoosh! Cao Yu's eyes hardened a little when he saw Lin Dong attacking. He struck his palm forward as black light immediately gathered in the sky. Space wiggled as the black light transformed into an enormous hand that violently slapped at Lin Dong. Bang! However, just as the black light giant hand was about to strike Lin Dong, a crimson glow suddenly arrived. With a punch, it collided head-on with the giant black light hand. Swoosh swoosh! A shocking ripple erupted above the Lin Dong's head. However, the latter completely ignored it. His body moved and appeared in front of Cao Yu. Sharp spear glows were aimed at all the Cao Yu's vital points. Humph! Upon seeing Lin Dong's crafty usage of the blood soul puppet to block the attack while he unleashed an attack of his own, Cao Yu involuntarily let out a cold snort. Bright golden light surged out immediately, directly transforming into a golden shield with golden light seemingly flowing on it. Clang clang clang! Sharp spear glows viciously struck the golden shield. However, it merely caused some sparks to appear, and was clearly unable to break the latter's defense. Is this all you've got? Cao Ying sneered. However, his sneer had only just formed when his eyes suddenly hardened. He had realized that the spear glows did not immediately disappear after being blasted apart. Instead, numerous green lights rushed out from within them. These green lights seemed to be green scales. The scales flashed as a faint but extremely sharp ripple spread out from them. Kai 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 kai! The green scales were like rain. They arrived quickly and ruthlessly struck the gold shield. This time around, there were no sparks. The green scales pierced through the incomparably hard golden shield, before zipping towards Cao Yu's vital spots at an astonishing speed. This is the real attack, huh? This sudden scene also caused Cao Yu to be startled. Lin Dong's earlier attack was merely a ruse. The true attack was these scales hidden within the spear glows. There is some ingenuity, but it is useless against me. Cao Yu's eyes turned cold. His body shook slightly as the surrounding space became distorted. Black light spread out from these distorted areas, forming a light circle that covered his body. Clang clang! The incomparably sharp green scales ruthlessly struck the light barrier. However, they appeared to be just like stones sinking into the ocean. They did not cause any damage as they completely disappeared. Lindong, this realm has already been covered by the heaven sealing array. I can borrow some of its strength. Forget about you. Even if all of you were to attack, you will not be able to do anything to me. Cao Yu stood within the light circle as he sneered. Swoosh! However, Lindong completely ignored the Cao Yu. He pressed down with the tips of his feet as his body shot into the sky. He seated himself cross-legged in the sky amidst numerous stunned eyes, while wave after wave of powerful mental energy suddenly swept out from his Niwen palace. Mental power was just like a storm that was unfurling. Moreover, it spread at a terrifying speed. It was as though a volcano that had been suppressed for countless number of years had finally erupted. Rumble. Dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky while Lindong's mental energy wildly erupted and mad wind raged all around. This scene stunned everyone. A moment later, they inhaled violently. Is that the wind lightning trial? What is that fellow planning? This video will end here.